everyone, and welcome to another exciting press conference today. We will focus our efforts on to celebrate and increase Erie's safe, welcoming, vibrant neighborhoods. This week, the city is kicking off the creation of the City of Erie's first ever Historic Preservation Plan. We are very happy to provide an update on the historic preservation efforts and to announce what our next steps will be. Here's a brief recap of where we are. We have come a long way since City Council and I appointed the Historic Preservation Task Force. That was back in 2019. And thanks for Liz Allen for being here as well. The Preservation Task Force's mission has been to study, analyze, and identify the following things: policy recommendations, community-supported goals for historic preservation, and any funding opportunities that might be available. In the 2 years from 2019 to 2021, they have researched preservation tools, conducted a very good survey, identified policy recommendations, applied for certified local government status, applied for a certified local government grant, drafted a zoning ordinance amendment, established a historic review commission, and applied for a Keystone Preservation grant. Lots been done. I'd like to give a special thanks to our 7 hardworking task force members. They are Emily Eloise, Dave Brennan, who's here with us, Melissa Hake, Elizabeth Kelly, Melinda Meyer, Chuck Scalise, and Mark Stegg. Thanks also to Bill Callahan of the State Historic Preservation Office and his team for their commitment, their enthusiasm, and their diligence. As a direct result of their work, 4 things were accomplished. First, the city's Historic Review Commission was appointed in May of 2021. Second, the city was awarded certified local government status. Third, grants were secured. And fourth, the city's first ever historic preservation planner, Chris Kinder, was hired. That was back in October of 2021. Over the course of the past 8 months, Chris and the Historic Review Commission have been very, very busy. Today, we are excited to provide an update on all that they have accomplished and what the next steps will be. So now, I'll turn it over to Chris to share the details and announce some very, very exciting developments. Chris?
Thank you, Mayor Schimber. Since the creation of the Historic Preservation Task Force in 2019, Erie has come a long way in developing a municipal historic preservation program. Part of ensuring that our program is successful is to create a comprehensive historic preservation plan for Erie, the city's very first. The purpose of this preservation plan is to, 1, identify current and future goals for historic preservation for the city of Erie, identify important historic and cultural resources in the city, develop management policies and strategies for their appropriate use, conservation, preservation, and protection, and develop tools, incentives, and programs that use historic preservation as part of a toolkit for sustainable and equitable revitalization of Erie. In 2021, the City of Erie was awarded a Keystone Historic Preservation Grant from the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission to hire a consultant to assist us in developing that plan. After a nationwide request for proposals, several highly qualified consulting firms submitted proposals to create that plan to create Erie's first comprehensive historic preservation plan. After interviewing several consulting firms, the Historic Reviews Commission selected the Lakota Group, based in Chicago, Illinois, to assist us in developing our plan. And the Lakota Group was chosen for its extensive experience in helping cities develop historic preservation plans using a community-based approach with a diverse team of specialists for such cities as Albany, New York, El Dorado, Arkansas, San Antonio, Texas, and others. The Lakota Group is focused on community engagement and involvement and has a commitment to engage with underrepresented communities, which is vital for creating a successful plan for Erie. With that, I'm happy to introduce Associate Principal for the Lakota Group, Nick Kalogeresis, who is with us via Zoom. Nick?
Great, thanks, Chris. I hope all of you can hear and see me. I'm Nick Kalogeresis, Associate Principal with the Lakota Group. On behalf of the Lakota Group, we want to thank the City of Erie for this wonderful opportunity to assist the community in preparing a new citywide historic preservation plan. As we know, historic preservation helps cities retain their unique architectural and historical character. Historic preservation also repurposes buildings for new uses, creates jobs. revitalizes commercial districts and neighborhoods, and contributes to local quality of life. Truly, Erie's architecture and neighborhoods reflect its rich and diverse history and heritage. This historic preservation plan will provide a compelling vision and a set of goals and priorities for the future preservation of Erie's heritage. It will also engage and involve the Erie community in its creation, as Chris has mentioned. The Lakota Group is a Chicago-based urban planning and design firm. We look forward to collaborating with the many diverse stakeholders in Erie in crafting this plan that meets local needs and aspirations. Again, the Lakota Group thanks the city for this wonderful opportunity. So I will turn it back to Chris. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. We look forward to introducing you to Erie and developing this very important plan. To assist in the development of this plan, the Historic Review Commission also created a Historic Preservation Plan Steering Committee. The steering committee is made up of citizens and key city staff that have an interest in historic preservation, own historic buildings, have an interest in Erie history or heritage education, or real estate and development in the city. After putting out a public call for applicants interested in serving on the committee, the Historic Review Commission chose 6 people with a diverse array of interests. The key task of this steering committee is to serve as a sounding board for ideas, review draft documents, and assist in identifying key stakeholders for whom to seek input. This morning, I am happy to introduce our Historic Preservation Plan Steering Committee, some of whom are with us today. They include Matthew Falcone, Aaron Phillips, Johnny Johnson, Courtney Barron, Emily Butler, and Michael Furman. They will assist, they will serve as citizen members of this steering committee, and each play a role in advocating for Erie, especially its history, and revitalizing the city through historic preservation. The committee also includes key city staff that will play a role in implementing a historic preservation plan for Erie, including Aaron Snippert, Executive Director of the Redevelopment Authority for the City of Erie, Deborah Smith, Director of Economic and Community Development, Jake Welsh, Chief Zoning Officer, Aaron Carey, Neighborhood Planner, and Bill Callahan, who serves as a Community Preservation Coordinator for Western Pennsylvania for the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission. Thank you all for your willingness to serve on this committee and your commitment to the City of Erie. Also with us today is Melinda Meyer, who serves as Chair of the Historic Review Commission and Chair of Preservation Erie. Melinda?
Thanks, Chris. So I'm here today as a member of the City of Erie's Historic Review Commission, as well as the Chair of Preservation Erie, and a past member of the Historic Preservation Task Force. The seeds of the city's historic preservation program were planted nearly 20 years ago with City Council's adoption of the first preservation ordinance. But very little progress had been made on developing a program in earnest until the city's comprehensive plan, Erie Refocused, called for a more robust approach to caring for and capitalizing on the community's historic resources. In 2019, a 7-member historic preservation task force was jointly created by Mayor Schember and City Council and given 2 years to research, study, and develop a plan for the city that would position it to effectively address historic preservation. Based on the recommendations of the task force, City Council approved a revised preservation ordinance that created the Historic Review Commission and laid the groundwork for a citywide preservation program. The city also applied for and received Certified Local Government designation, which is a federal program administered at the state level that provides grant funding and technical support for historic preservation activities. And the city's first historic preservation planner was hired to work in partnership with the Historic Review Commission and build a historic preservation program for Erie. Incredibly exciting. The task force also identified key projects for 2021 and 2022. These would be priority projects for the newly formed Historic Review Commission and Historic Preservation Planner. At the very top of this list was development of a multi-year plan for the city's newly formed Historic Preservation Program. The goal of this planning effort is to work with the Lakota Group, the historic preservation planning consultants contracted to facilitate the project, and the community to develop a multi-year citywide historic preservation plan which is focused on protecting and preserving the historic resources of the city's built environment and archaeological environment, understanding and enhancing Erie's historic integrity, and promoting an authentic, livable community amid changing environmental circumstances. The resulting citywide preservation plan will help identify and articulate the community's preservation goals, create an agenda for preservation work, outline how the city will measure its progress, establish a connection between the city's economic development goals and historic preservation, and build awareness of its historic preservation policies. A project steering committee has been created to work collaboratively with the Historic Review Commission, Historic Preservation Planner, the Mayor's Office, City Council, the Lakota Group, to help guide the project and actively engage residents in the planning process. Why is this work important? Erie's story is part of our own personal story. Its location on Lake Erie had and continues to have a significant impact on the character of places positioned along the lake shore. Presque Isle Peninsula provides a natural and protected deep water harbor, which shaped and helped define the city and nearby areas. Home to numerous indigenous tribes, the shoreline and the lake floor contain buried evidence of the area's earliest cultures, as well as the first European settlements like Fort Presque Isle. Prior to the Civil War, the Port of Erie housed the nation's largest fleet of steamships, was a major hub of the Underground Railroad, the lake shore serving as a final stop before many freedom seekers crossed over the lake to Canada, and served as the northern terminus of the Erie Extension Canal. The city's built environment reflects its heritage as a 19th and 20th century maritime and industrial center. Historic resources such as Union Station and Griswold Plaza reflect Erie's strong ties to the railroad, while also the West 12th Street Industrial Corridor, which runs parallel to the rail lines, is evidence of the community's role as a manufacturing hub with brick buildings and factory complexes 3 to 4 stories high. The steeples of ethnic churches dot the city's skyline and clearly identify Erie's historic immigrant neighborhoods, made up of people and families drawn to this gem city by the industrial activity and a chance to work. These neighborhoods, which contribute to residents' cultural experiences and identities, even today, are comprised of community parks and centers, schools, memorial signage honoring key figures from the neighborhood, long-standing or legacy family-owned businesses, and other important resources that are unique solely to them. Residential subdivisions built from 1900 to the post-World War II era further define Erie's neighborhoods. So too do the waves of immigrants of the modern era. As work on the plan moves forward, we invite you to join in the discussion and help determine what places and stories matter most and how best to use and preserve them. Thank you.
Thank you, Melinda. In the coming weeks and months, there will be several opportunities for all of you to engage in this project. We invite you all to participate in helping us create a historic preservation plan that benefits each community in Erie and helps revitalize this amazing city. Lastly, I am proud to announce that the City of Erie has been awarded another Keystone Historic Preservation Planning Grant from the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission for 2022. This grant will help us conduct a comprehensive citywide survey of buildings in the city. A survey of historic and cultural resources will help us identify potential districts and landmarks that are eligible for listing on the National Register of Historic Places or local designation as historic overlay districts. The survey will also help streamline historic preservation plan implementation and projects that are federally funded and require review. If you have any questions about the plan project or any of our program projects, please do not hesitate to reach out. My email is ckinder@erie.pa.us, or you can call me at 814-460-3096. Thank you. Mayor?
Thank you very much, Chris, Nick, and Melinda. We really appreciate the updates. This is very exciting, isn't it? What's going on, what's happened already, and what's going to be happening. I also want to give a thanks to the Lakota Group for working with us to create the city's first ever historic preservation plan. And thanks to the members of the Historic Preservation Council Steering Committee also for helping us and guiding the effort. One thing I want to mention, it kind of came to my mind as I was listening here, we've had about 500 police officers from all over Pennsylvania down at the Bayfront Convention Center. I went down and spoke to them and welcomed them here on Monday. I've heard so many good things about how these 500 police officers are enjoying Erie and getting great things from it. And it's very exciting to hear. And it's been 42 years since this group was in Erie for a convention. I don't think it's going to take them that long to come back again. They've really, really been enjoying it. Now I want to close by recognizing and thanking a few more very key people who have moved this process along in the last couple years here. First, Kathy Rosdick, who is Erie's first ever city planning director, who had the vision really to spearhead the historic preservation plan, and we thank Kathy for that. Chris Kinder, of course, you've heard from him. He's done a great job as the city's first ever historic preservation planner, really moving us forward. And members of our Historic Review Committee, of course, which is serving a critical role as they do things like assist in developing and administering local created historic districts, reviewing certificates of appropriateness, and advising on policy and preservation tools. They are the go-to for historic preservation plans, and they support efforts for us to obtain grants, which, as you've heard, we've had a number of already. For their work and dedication, I thank Craig Pepper, who has been involved in Erie's quest for architectural preservation for 44 years now. Mark Tannenbaum, the visionary behind and executive director of PACA, which is the Performing Arts Collective Alliance. I hope we've all been there. Jeff Zilionis, who has for over 40 years of experience in construction. Dave Brennan, who's here with us, a former city council member, a local architect, and a longtime member of Preservation Erie. Melinda Meyer, chair of the Historic Review Commission, executive director of Preservation Erie, and an employee of the Erie County Planning Office. And Jason Wazorek, who is liaison for the City Planning Commission to this group. Working together, we are developing an exciting historic preservation plan that helps to ensure that all our neighborhoods will be safe, welcoming, and vibrant. That concludes this week's press conference. Thank you all for attending. Until next week, please follow us on social media for the latest updates on everything that is happening in the city of Erie. Everyone who spoke is now available for interviews. Thanks again for being with us or watching today. Thank you.
Recording stopped.